So if you ever think about converting railway tracks into, well, I don't know, let's say, can you better the process of trains, make them more economical? And how could you do that? Well, you could put a clockwork mechanism inside it, much like you have a car that you pull backwards, let go, and the car flies off, yeah? Mm-hmm. If you imagine that into a train, but rather than using brakes to slow down, it starts to tighten the spring. As it's more and more tightening this spring, you know, it's then eventually going to stop because it's going to reach resistance. Then you'll use the brakes. And then afterwards, when taking off, flying back down the track, you use the momentum that was built up in stopping force into the clockwork mechanism, which gets you back up to speed. A bit like skipping gears on a car saves you fuel, and therefore you're not burning as much fuel. Therefore, you save the environment by being thrifty, right? Mm-hmm. If we see up here, you see this one that verges off here. Yeah? Do you ever think that if we had the trains that went that way, some of them were designated to go this side? Yeah?
Yeah.
And if they were to go that side, if we look this side, you can see that we've got a platform either side, yeah?
Yes, we do.
So one side you could say then you could put a load of shops on.
Yes.
Yeah? And you could have a load of shops that were at a better rate of pay than compared to towns. Towns don't expand. That's the one thing. They seem to stay the same. Does this make more of a competitive market for people and shoppers? You know, if you were to put a load of, let's say, platforms with certain buildings that were made up over there, yes?
Yes.
You could convert these into shops.
Yeah.
Not just any shop, but more like a social housing shop, if you like. So social shops as opposed to private rented shops. You know, if you had a few solar trees, technically they're just trees with solar panels act like the leaves, yeah? Mm-hmm. All dotted along the track down there. As you can see, the sunlight is this way, so they'd face the opposite way.
Yeah.
You could also generate energy there, which there again goes into putting less rent on the shop itself. And the type of shops that you would have in there would be under the agreement that because this is a cheap way to operate, you get everything at a lower price, therefore the lower price should be pushed onto the customer. What about moving stock? Do you think it's more beneficial to move stock via train than it is by a lorry? You can pause it at any time. So speaking of which, if we imagine this train here, yes?
Yeah.
It's going to go to a destination anyway, right?
Yeah.
If it was on the opposite track, if you turn, you can see that it could veer off onto this side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would have to change its route a little bit. But even still, you see that this is slowed down, yeah? It's using brakes.
Yeah.
If it had a clockwork mechanism into it, rather than building up to speed and then hitting the brakes on, which is a waste, you could have a clockwork carriage on there. There's a spring that gets tighter and it should slow it down. So if they started to stop further up where that bridge is in the distance, they could wind the spring. And then when going to leave the station, it uses the spring to put back in to get it up to speed, you know? Even could put solar panels on the roof. No, you're fine. You are okay to keep going.
Okay.
We can watch this one take or travel or... You know, if you've got solar panels on the top and it pulls into a station that's for shops, let's say, even that can be pumping into the... And you see that the spring would now be using it to get it up to speed, yeah?
Yeah.
You could get many solar panels on there.
Yeah, it can.
And then as opposed to people going from town to town, they could be going to shop.
Mm-hmm.
Straight off.
Yeah.
Shop for a bit, next train in. You got enough time to do what you need to do, let's say.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the platform roof, yeah, the roof either side,
Yeah, I see it.
you can get solar panels on there, quite many.
Yeah, that would be useful.
Especially if they're arched this way.
Mm-hmm.
The light is from behind anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're generating more than enough power, could you imagine solar trees all the way down? It'd look quite nice.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
No running.
Yeah.
Walk.
It's a lot of real estate as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
A
it
lot of
is.
opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll pause this for now and we'll move on. see from here, you've got factories over the back there, yeah?
Yeah.
And we've got this little bit of area here, yeah?
Yeah.
Who owns this? Well, it's clear that it's government owned, right? You can say Network Rail, yeah?
Yeah.
Could you imagine converting this into shops? What else could you have there? Well, you can already see we've got some berries there. It's a nice area if there was a walkway that didn't let you get onto the track. You've got multiple tracks there. So you've got the main 2 tracks over there, yes?
Yeah.
Followed by an additional track. And where we saw from the other place, this is the one that comes off here, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think this one goes off further to where the steam engines are usually.
Yes.
So that's the old signal box. If we go further down here, which is the signal boxes over there, yeah?
Yeah. I see.
We'll let the plane fly over first if it does.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of areas here that could be utilized. So you could utilize this track here, and you could make a station at the opposite side, yes?
Yeah.
Or either side, even this side could be done. It's
Yeah.
quite dug out quite deep anyway.
Yeah, it is.
So you have a nice platform with a nice shop, but the agreement on the shop would be that it would be a good price, yeah. This stays into centralized government management.
Yeah.
The rent gets paid so that it can keep on increasing the tax pot without increasing taxes. The rents that are paid here by the businesses that come into here, by the people that utilize the particular train that's going to pull up here and wait. If there are solar panels, solar trees, solar panels on the trees, the trains as well, either side of the track, you could even make the canopy and the roofs out solar panels. So this is putting additional energy in. So it can be off grid, can be hybrid, part grid, because there is some, do you see these cables here? I think these are more signal, to be honest.
Yeah.
But even still, it wouldn't hurt to get additional power up there. And this would be that the products have to be capped at a certain amount. This is what you sign in, you know, it's like a social housing type thing, you know, where you've got social housing and private housing. Private houses are a lot more expensive. We understand that.
Yes, they are.
What this does is it creates a secondary town. Even if you're paying your ticket
Yeah.
from one town to another to get into these sort of areas, if they're put in strategy areas like this is already here, it's not really utilizing too much. Most of that on the track there means you can't get a train there at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you see those other
Yeah,
rails?
I see them. Yeah.
So this bit is not being utilized in any way. So you could essentially say that this is wasteland, yeah? And there's quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
So here in this town, a lot of shops shut due to high energy.
Yeah.
This gets pushed up, and again, it almost seems like we've got a lot of CEOs that have bought things and they've decided that they don't want these particular shops in a certain town, so they up the price. And then you've got private landlords. Again, they could all be in this same club area and band together to chess the towns a little bit. And then you lose companies and shops that can't afford to keep going because the rent's just gone up, the energy has gone up. But yet, if you've got this that is owned by government, which we would say tax pot, it mustn't be privatized, it's not to be sold, and the land is to be utilized so that there's a rent being made. One is off the energy. If it's renewable as possible, that's good. Doesn't mean these companies are going to get it for free, but you're going to get it for a lot cheaper than what you would in a high street somewhere.
Yeah.
So that means that this pushes on to the consumer, and people will begin to feel that. If I was in power, I'd go towards this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
For this particular reason, it's beneficial for everyone. It utilizes the rail stations. If you've got the train that's pulled up here to offload a load of people, it could go back and collect some other individuals, right? In between your main ferrying of people from one place to another. While this train's gone, the people are shopping. Once they've bought what they needed to, they're going to be waiting at the platform. Then next lot of people off. These people are then going to be taken back to the area following the same route. You've got your ferrying of people who are not wanting to go into this sort of shopping area. The train can stay off of the track whilst others keep going. I mean, that would need to be looked at. Signalling and different things like that would need to be looked at quite a bit. Don't want any collisions. And then when these ones run in between these ones, they drop off the people. and then people can still be ferried, from town to town.
Yeah.
What's more, if you've bought a load of bulky stuff, you're keeping cars off the road.
Yeah.
That's what it's another thing that it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this could really bring in a lot of benefits. One, to small time shops, If you think about it, they're not going to be able to afford to get into a high street.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty much it.
Yeah.
And even if they were managed to get in there, they can be pushed out at any time. That is control, really. If you think that it isn't going on, I don't know. I'd say, let's find out from here. You can expand along the rail and make use of it rather than it all go into waste.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of benefits from this. And then think about it. Yes, taxes are still going to be in place because you're going to need it to fund sort of projects to lift this off. It's got to start at zero and build up. But the thing is, when this rent is coming in, this energy is coming in, this extra train tickets are coming in, if it's going into the tax pot and it stays centralized, what this does is it allows tax to rise with inflation. That's the thing. So yes, this is going to be cheaper. Secondly, it's going to be competitive market, more competitive. How do I mean by competitive? Well, if we've got the same copy and paste stuff with towns and everything else, there's no competitiveness in that. That's that or nothing. And yes, you could do online. I suppose there is that. But again, not really with the sort of licenses you've got to get. And it's quite the pain in the butt, to be honest. Whereas here, you could already have the tills built into the tax pot as well. VAT on top of stuff. It could be flexible that some of these could be open for people that take temporary... they've built, made a load of cakes. They've built a load of artistic stuff and want to sell it for a bit. They don't need a year's contract or 6 weeks. They might only want to be able to do a week. They've got a hobby on the side as everyday work, and they've got a week spare. They could be selling this stuff as well. Again, this is good for VAT as well. What about if you're growing vegetables? And then there's moving produce from one place to another, At night, trains don't operate. Okay, so it could be utilized to move stock. Again, if you're a company like Lidl, good price, good this, you could build one here, sort of thing, in this way. Well, it'd be rented to you. You see, the thing is that you could utilize the train service as opposed to taking it from a lorry or different things like this, and then it comes straight to your door there with the forklifts and off it comes. Do you know what I mean? That's very quick. You can move the stock at night, ready for the next day. Again, if these trains are utilized in a way that it goes from one station to another, to another, to another, to another, how far close to, let's say, Portsmouth can you reach? I mean, there is a factory over there after all. I mean, it does keep a few lorry drivers off the roads, yes, but, they're still going to be needed for the towns and everything else and all the ones that are out of reach, so it doesn't put too many out of business. But it just lowers that amount on the road, to be honest. And again, it's a train.
Yeah.
If the individuals on there, the train conductors were there, it's a bit of overtime for them. It's not only overtime, it's also one can sleep on the train whilst the other one operates it, and they can switch between the two of them. Lorry drivers have to pull up somewhere and rest. That's the long distance lorry driving. That's the pain in the butt about that.
Yeah.
Whereas this can keep on going. You could do this in a lorry, I suppose, but again, that's 2 lots of wages to pay. It is here, but again, it's generating. No CEO type style. There's going to be no CEO. The CEO will be the tax pot. And then if this builds up, what could that be used for next time? What other projects like this could that fundage be put into? And therefore, there's money there. It's one thing to think about it. It's 2 to do it. I mean, how much of a workforce does this make in builders? Especially in the winter months. Usually building projects sort of close down. Again, if this was to be built in a way that part factory, above it, houses. Flats or whatnot above. That utilizes something else, and then there's a revenue there. And it kind of doubles up as security as well. Do Do you sort of understand? I know that there's going to be difficulties to get from to fro, but that can all be thought out. Either go under the track or above it.
Yeah.
So you're then starting to build houses on top of this as well as utilize the grounds underneath.
Mm-hmm.
If the project doesn't lift off terribly well, convert them into flats. Solar panels on top. Again, it's not free, but it's going to be cheaper than what the current rate is. This causes competitiveness with energy companies. Why? Lower your prices. That's what it does. High streets, towns, lower your rents, because this will then make them compete. And again, and I think this is healthy as well, isn't it? What are people in towns actually doing with that money for shops? Because it isn't opening more, is it? It seems to stagnate. Have you noticed that? The towns get bigger and bigger, but the one shop area is staying the same size.
Yes, it is.
Could you get hospitals here? That's another thing. Doctor's surgery. Is it possible to do that utilized off the rent? Can you begin to make a town,
Yeah.
but one that's a high street?
Yeah.
Can you utilize houses? Could you get farms there? Are there factories in the area that could also utilize, hey, you either pay this for a lorry driver or we've got a spare carriage left over. You know, how do we save money on that? Well, you make a clockwork mechanism on the trains. They don't use brakes. They do have brakes, but they wind a spring first until that's at full capacity. You know, when you pull the car back to a certain mechanism starts to go,
Yeah.
it won't wind that spring anymore. That will be the time then to initiate the brakes, you know. You could get your timing so perfect on this that the train comes in, okay, spring activated, it begins to build up with more resistance, and that resistance begins to slow down the train.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to the train to leave, it uses that wound momentum of the spring and off it goes up to speed again. And then you only need to use fuel, if you're using fuel, every now and then. This is a big opportunity to move produce, charge, you know, the companies, you know, here, we can move it for this much. We're saving this much on fuel. Therefore, that's that extra money. Where's it going? Back into the tax pot. Why? Because it's going to inflate. So with inflation, you know, there is rising taxes. Yeah. But what about rising taxes slightly less, but rising the rent, rising this, rising the cost to move the freight? At the end of the day, lorry drivers are going to want a lot more. It's not going to take the jobs away from lorry drivers, absolutely not, but it's going to make it more competitive. Do you get what I mean? So it keeps this, and as it rises, that is inflation. That's a less burden on the people.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean with that?
Yeah.
You know, tax rises, but sort of break even, and this way takes over. I think we've got a train now going past.
Yeah.
You're going to capture that. So then it'll tell you which way the tracks are. You know, this one isn't used, it's the one further out.
Yeah.
So I imagine where that yellow bit is.
Yeah.
Look how many solar panels you could get on top of that.
Yeah.
Even with the train sat in the particular area, and if there was a way to take the power from the track itself, so that when it rolls up into the, let's say, shopping area,
Yeah.
that power from the solar panels goes into the track and then into the... I mean, it's an interesting way to think about it, really,
Yeah, it
isn't it? That would be an interesting thing. And, you know, it could charge batteries once those batteries are depleted and it's put it back into the grid. I mean, that is definitely something. That's another way to look at it. And then it disconnects the discharge ratio and then begins to charge the batteries once again. You know, you could do it this way. And even when that train is docked somewhere, it can put more energy into the grid for as long as it is docked while it's waiting. You know, if it's got to wait here because it can't get out because there's another train coming, that energy can just be put in there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much you can do with it. And then all the berries that you've got here. Underground farms. This is technically already underground. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Then rather than bringing produce, could we offer a space to supermarkets, let's say Lidl style, where the food is grown under the ground? Next layer, supermarket. Layer above, housing, flats. You know, And again, the agreement would be that you are tidy. You've got to be clean. Do you get what I mean? Again, this can be drafted out. You'll sign this rule here. Why? Because, you know, you're a bit of a community individual now, aren't you? You can't have broken bits of sofa out the way. How would you move rubbish? A train could collect it instead. Again, if everyone was incentivized to throw it away in this area, a train could just pull up, grab it, throw it on board, and then off it goes, you know, as simple as that. The people do the moving yourself then. Takes the burden off of bin operatives, doesn't it? They ain't got to race around so much.
Yeah.
And again, it utilizes this land that I call wasteland.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Not used. Just.
Yeah, I find this a very fascinating subject to me. It's utilizing what you already got and just expanding upon it.
Yeah.
It's sitting there doing nothing anyway.
Yeah. And it's kind of ready, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to leave this one here. Last time I did it yesterday, it was probably too loud with the music and different things like that. So, yeah, I think I want to hit this one again for this particular reason. And it keeps cars off the road. If you think about it, if you've got a large amount of shopping that you need to get back, just walk straight onto the train. That comes in with your ticket anyway. So trains need to be designed a little bit different for your particular, to cater for your baggage, let's say. And again, the more heavier the train, the more of a spring you can wind. And again, that's mathematically calculated as well. How big are the spring versus, well, when do you need to start slowing down type thing. The bigger the spring, the more it can get you back up to speed again, and then you're only using a very little bit of fuel rather than, you know, putting your foot fully to the floor to get the train moving. You're saving fuel, and, you know, these companies don't need to know that. Yeah, you're paying for your ticket here. Can it be slightly cheaper? Oh, it could be. Yeah, build a new community then, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be interesting to me, to see that happen. That would be wonderful. Yeah, to be a part of that, that would be a great thing. And then, what you do now, what do you leave for the next set of politicians? Well, not only do you leave them money,
Yeah.
you leave them a legacy to start building, to then, what can they do with that? That's the next question, isn't it? You know, you're not only doing it for the next politician, you're doing it for the next generation of individuals as well. And then if this stays in ownership, that it stays in this ownership for this reason, it's far beneficial to get taxed this way. Then what water systems could you add into that? What new water systems could be rolled out in this situation, like cleaning it and different things like that? Extracting it from air vapor, take some of the pressure down. You know, the reverse of electrolysis, I think it's also known as, isn't it? What's the reverse of that? Pressurizing gases to make a drink. That would be interesting. And then how many impurities can you remove from it this way? Again, it's not free, but it's cheaper than what is. And that, again, is competitiveness. It helps to bring the bills down. And that legacy you leave not only for the people, you're leaving it for the next politicians, the next thinkers. There's money in the pot. What ideas can you get functioning with? I mean, it's like a gift all round that just keeps on giving in this situation, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it does. And it gives opportunity to people that have perhaps lost their business because it's just too expensive. Do you get what I mean? Mm-hmm. Energy's too much. Rent's too much. And then ask yourself a question. Are towns controlled and moderated? And if so, by who? Could it be CEOs? Could it be companies that work together for an agenda of a type of town they want? And then is this why it shuts out people in the community this way? You know, because they make it so that it's so expensive for you. There's so much of a contract. Do you get what I mean? That can push people out. And then what about people who are growing food at home?
Yeah.
People who are in retirement, right?
Yeah.
What happens if they could sometimes come out of retirement? That puts a pause on pension for a bit. They go back to filling in their pension and they get to sell something,
Yeah.
which stops them from getting bored as well. And it keeps them busy and it might keep them happy in this sort of way, yes? Upcoming hobbyists, artists. It's there if you need a week, only a week. You haven't got to fill out any forms, you haven't got to do all the taxes already built into the till. We know you're going to be here at this time, plan to sell this much, we can see how much you've sold, and then it helps better the system. VAT is taken straight off of there. The rent is already incorporated on what you've sold, and then you're just left with your profit. All of the other stuff is taken care of. Hassle-free. And then their word of mouth and their experience about it, how they found it, they'll tell people in their community and they're like, oh yeah, I want to have a go with that as well. I haven't got much to keep a shop open somewhere, but I got enough to do it at certain times. Do you get what I mean? And then it's sort of like, okay. You could set it up at home, but this way is hassle-free. Then people know where to find you. So, Christmas markets, wow, that would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it? Christmas time. If you've got the solar trees, those decorated, wind turbines on top of it, might as well catch in off of that. Look at it, it's baking.
Yeah, it is.
It's hot, right? And look at the breeze. Do you see it?
Yeah.
You do know that there is a theory, right, that I have, that if you utilize wind turbines, aren't you disrupting the power of that wind?
Yeah.
Do you ever think about that? If you're using solar panels, aren't you absorbing that?
Yeah.
And you're utilizing it, you know. Here comes another. So if you're utilizing that air movement into spinning something, haven't you taken the force out of the air? You know, the same thing I ask is when we've got all of these gardens with fences and gardens, what we're actually doing here, the air is able to move, right? So it keeps it cool.
Yeah.
What happens if you start fencing it all off? Is the heat beginning to rise in these areas?
Yeah, you have little
Because
hot
there's
pockets.
nothing cooling it down.
Yeah, hot pockets.
You can test this with a light. A light with a fan on it doesn't get hot because you're knocking out, you're keeping it, it's cool, yeah?
Yeah.
But one that doesn't have any airflow overheats. And therefore, is there a vortex whirling above this? More so, which the answer is yes. But if you've got a slight cross breeze there, I don't know, I often wonder this sort of stuff, if you utilize that heat. So another way to think about it, if I've got something that's giving out a lot of heat into the environment, but I put some water in there in a container, and I heat the water because I need it for something else, am I taking the heat out of that object to put it into something else?
Yeah.
So, what happens if I need to heat that water anyway? Do I need to burn another fuel to heat that water rather than utilize the heat that's already there? So I'm now adding times 2 to the heat, yes?
Yeah.
When I could just utilize the heat.
Yeah.
Solar panels with hose piping, type of hose pipe behind the back of them, it gets nice and warm. And we know that if we've got 4 days worth of nice heat and we circulate the water under the solar panel, as opposed to one, you know, water pump type thing, or heat pump, I think it's also known, I'm not really sure, where it's on the roof, yeah? And you utilize that heat to heat water,
Yeah.
or you're going to have to make power. But why not, you know, this has been around for ages, I was doing this back in Banham, even before then, that you can put piping behind a solar panel.
Yeah.
Take that heat and put it into a water tank. As opposed to put on some energy, heat over there in order to send energy here to heat water when I've already got the heat. And if it's 4 days worth of hot weather, and then followed by 2 days worth of cooler weather, I'm going to utilize that hot water in those cooler days. Do you get how being thrifty in that situation,
Yeah.
then you've taken the heat from the land, yes? You've taken it from the panel.
Yeah.
Therefore, you've taken it from the environment. Yes, okay, fair enough. You might argue that you've heated, but you don't need to turn on power over there which is some sort of heat device to send the power to heat over here, which then you've created 3 lots of heat when you only needed just the one, just by utilizing it. And the same process is like that with the wind, the breeze. If you can capture it, are you slowing it down? Do you make it hotter? There's another question. Or are you utilizing that breeze from the heat? Better it go that way and into something than that way and start a tornado off. Do you get what I mean by that? That sort of thing?
Yeah.
And if you had a platform filled with water, I don't know, it's going to be baking a roof, for example. If it had a thin layer of water in it,
Yeah.
are you going to be utilizing that heat energy
Yeah.
to heat water?
Yeah.
To then, could you give it to the individuals that are already living there?
Yeah.
You know, if you had some flats above there, for example, could you utilize that warm water?
Yes.
They could.
Yeah.
It would be cheaper.
Yeah.
This helps you reach net zero, doesn't it? Well, not quite. Hybrid.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. Then you need less off the grid, so you don't need to heat over there. You most certainly don't need to heat over here. You know, and this just keeps circulating, and you're going to heat it anyway. It's summer, I understand. But again, better than it baking into the structure and then releasing up. You've got to be able to heat that up. Then you might use it. Shower on the colder days, you know. Oh, it's a bit warmer. Oh, that's nice. And you've utilized that from, you know, well insulated as well. To store that water and keep it as warm as long as possible. Yeah, then you have taken it from the environment. That's the way I see it. You know, what about the star? It's slightly bigger. But if I start putting some stuff into it,
Yeah.
let's say I want to heat some water or heat some metals to be able to bend some metals and whatnot, am I removing some of that heat from the star?
Yes, you are.
So am I cooling down the planets
Yeah.
indirectly by doing so?
Yes, you are.
There's often things like this I often wonder about, to be honest.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, when we get to ocean water as well, the ocean water is rising up in temperature. But what happens if you were to utilize transparent panels, solar panels, that are at a slight angle, that are designed to reflect most of that light? You're keeping it a distance away from the ocean water. The visible light is still filtering through, but the heat version of it is more bouncing off. Would you keep the water colder? That's a question. And utilize power from that. It'd be great to make a device that generates energy from just heat alone, because then you'll be able to take it from the environment, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then less heat on the planet means less cooking and likewise. Anyway, right, let's leave this one here. I think I covered it mainly. I like that. It was a good video. Nice.